This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and yes, we're coming to you from the studios of Relmar McConnell Media Company in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, where right now it's minus 2 degrees under overcast skies. We're expecting snow today and on Thursday. Friday overcast, Saturday snow, Sunday kind of sunny day, and back to snow on Monday. And my guest this hour is Robert Catlin, a good friend of mine. Bob and I go back many years. He also helps us with the entertainment end of things here at the X-Zone and X-Chronicles newspaper as our editor. He's also a very talented graphic artist. And Bob, you and I were talking before we started the interview about how the weather has changed and how when you and I were both kids in the day of Wilma and Fred Flintstone, the snow would come in November and leave in March.
Yeah, it was like a constant blanket of white from late fall to early spring.
Yeah, that's
like now it's just sort of like you get snow for like 1 or 2 days, and then rain afterward, and the snow's gone. Then you get some odd, for some odd reason, you get like a 50-degree weather coming in one day.
You know, Rob, this is the first year since we bought our snowblower that I haven't used it.
How much level of dust is on it?
Well, quite a bit. You know, well, of course I haven't used it this year. It's only 2012, as my producer pointed out. But, you know, I haven't used it at all since last spring. And that's rather rare. I remember as a kid growing up on the south shore of Montreal. Now, my dad is a tall guy. You know, he's nearly 6 foot. And the snowbanks in front of our house, because of the snowplow, were way over his head.
Oh, yeah.
And now, you know, you tell kids about when I was a child growing up, you know, blah, blah, blah. They say, oh, come on. I'm serious. Rob, what was it like when you were growing up as far as the snow was concerned? Was it higher than it is now?
It was like long-lasting, that's for sure. Yeah. And I'd spend most of my time in Broadview, where there's like this really big hill that you could go down with a sled, and it was like constantly filled with snow. Like we said, is that from November right up until March or April.
Well, it's rather strange that last year was the lowest year on record for snow days.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you remember a few years ago, is that we had like minus 19 for at least 2 months.
That's right. And then going back, when was it? I'd say about 1991, 1990, the big ice storm that hit Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah, and it just seems like there's only 2 seasons now, winter and summer.
That's right.
You hardly see the transition between the fall and the spring anymore.
So it looks like it looks like the global warming is more of a reality than a myth, as many people thought it was.
Or it could be sort of like a trend, and then basically we'll get back to normal.
Or is this all something to do with December the 21st, 2012, and is this part of the galactic alignment? Woo!
If you believe that, I got you some old Y2K shirts that you want to buy.
You still got those?
No, I threw them out.
Rob, you and I have to take our first commercial break. Rob, what's your website?
It's supermannorth.com.
Exonation Rob Catlin's our special guest, and if you're looking for the services of a very fine graphic artist for whatever your business is, hey, maybe you're an author with Publish America that is looking for graphic work, www.supermannorth.com, right, Rob?
That's right.
All right, and Rob Catlin and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break talking about the year of entertainment 2011. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. I'll be back with Rob Catlin on the other side of this break. Whatever you Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, Exonation. That's Donovan doing Sunshine Superman. And speaking about Superman, Bob Catlin is our guest this hour, www.supermannorth.com. Rob, what about the movies of 2011? Which one do you give thumbs up to, and which ones were your thumbs down to?
The major one that I really loved was Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that was good.
It basically is the prequel to the Rodney McDowell movies of the 60s. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was very well done, and the scientific approach to it was genius, where you're trying to create a cure for Alzheimer's, mm-hmm. and you're doing it into a test subject of an ape, and then the ape becomes more intelligent and learns a language, and it evolves right into the Rodney McDowell movies, which I thought was very masterfully done.
Yeah, that was one of the better ones that I have seen, Rob. And when it comes to your number one thumbs down movie, which one would that be?
I would have to say Thor.
Thor, what was that?
Thor is like a comic book, like a Nordic superhero that carries a hammer and everything like that, mm-hmm. which makes him Thor.
Okay.
But I went through the whole movie, and he doesn't actually wear the costume until the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Well, that's no fun.
And it's just sort of why is it being called Thor when he's not being Thor through the whole movie?
Well, speaking about Thor, I'm going to stick a thorn in your side because I understand that Superman is coming out with a new uniform or a new costume, and that's kind of got you a little bit riled.
Yes, it's coming out in 2013, and the thing about it is that, I'm a diehard Superman fan.
You sure are.
I really love that Joe Shuster, a fellow Torontonian and Canadian, mm-hmm. was the creator of Superman along with Jerry Siegel. But the one thing that gets me is that, he created the image of what Superman is supposed to look like.
Right.
He provided the backstory, which his Superman suit was made from the baby blankets of his, the suit was made from the baby blankets that he was sent to Earth in. Mm-hmm. So we're going now to 2013, and the baby blankets have now turned into a rubberized suit, which has no more traditional red trunks. And to me, that screams what fashion would be Batman's.
But Rob, could it be that the powers to be in the entertainment industry are just trying to keep Superman and all the other superheroes that you and I grew up with, and many of our other listeners around the world grew up with, into modern times so that they can capture the modern or the present day audience?
Well, that's true, but if you want to play homage to the actual creators, mm-hmm. there's a template that they give you, and you have to work within that template. Once you get that template and then just crunch it up and throw it in the garbage and say, that's no good, and create something of your own, mm-hmm. which has no bearing to the Superman world itself, to me, I think that's insulting to the original creators.
Yes, I understand that, and I'm just sitting here thinking about the movies that I've seen on television, and I think Batman. When you look at the Batman TV series and the Batman comic book, they were pretty. They were pretty close, but then when you look at the Batman movies, with Michael Keaton and the others, they lost the originality behind the superhero.
But the one thing is that I really liked the movies, but I don't like the new crop of movies with Christian Bale. Like they've taken away the fantasy element of it, which was the part of Batman world itself.
Right.
Like the Batmobile had a bat-like car. It didn't have like a stealth car like it does now, and it's put into a modernized city, which could be any city around the world. And it doesn't look like the dark Gotham City that I grew up to love.
Yeah. How do you see this changing the way people perceive the superheroes that at one time were, like you were saying, when you looked at Batman, when you looked at Superman, you felt good, but now with this new costume, he looks like a mean, angry guy.
Exactly. It's just sort of like it's given the wrong impression of what Superman stood for. Like, Superman's supposed to be dressed in bright, colorful colors to exude happiness. Not like a Batman uniform where it strikes fear into somebody's soul and say, "Oh, I'm scared of you. Like, I'll do good."
What do you think?
That's the way I look at it.
What do you think the creator of Superman, Mr. Schuster, would say if he saw his?
Well, he'd be probably spinning in his grave right now.
Yeah.
And basically, like I really love Joe Shuster, and the one thing that really hurt me yet again this year is that his star was denied from the Canadian Walk of Fame again this year.
Still.
But yet his cousin, Frank Schuster from Wayne and Schuster,
the comedian,
has one. Has one. William Shatner has one. But yet James Doohan, who played Scotty, does not have one. And it's just sort of like these people came first and stuff like that, and like even Scotty, he went to the war and served his country well, and yet he doesn't have a star. Even Terry Fox doesn't have a star.
Speaking about William Shatner, what do you think about his television series?
Brother, he has so many on the burners now. It's like Shatner overkill. Like I respect the man.
Yeah.
He's Canadian, yes, but basically, it's like enough is enough. Like, I don't see him sort of like stepping up to the plate to Canada's Walk of Fame and say, you know what, James Doohan deserves a star. But yet, when Gordie Howe, I think his star was broken this year, and they had sort of like it fixed.
Yeah.
And early William Shatner off the cuff said, well, can somebody check mine to see if mine's broken too?
Oh my gosh!
It just shows the level of the person.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And going to a convention and spending $80 for his autograph, I don't think so.
You mean you wouldn't spend $80 for a William Shatner's autograph?
No, I'd rather put that on food.
Yeah, there you go. Man after my own heart. Man after my own heart. What do you see as far as some of the movies that our listeners should keep their eyes open for that are coming up in 2012, Bobby?
I think Prometheus, it's the prequel to the Alien movies. That looks really good. It's like the special effects looks very interesting, and I think this is going to be the #1 hit of the summer.
Wow.
And I think it's going to be really good. But then we got Titanic coming out again in 3D, where it's already made. It's like $2 billion or something like that.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch the different technologies that the filmmakers are actually implementing, not only in the creation of the film, but in the showing of the film. 3D, like when we look at 3D, once again, when you and I were kids, you had a pair of glasses, one half was blue, the other was red. And compared to the 3D of Avatar, when that came out, that was like, whoa.
Yep. Like 3D has come a long way, and I've found out some reason behind why 3D is being pushed in the theater is basically it's an anti-copy guard. So when people bring in their cameras to copy the movie illegally, it makes the movie look really bad when it's played back.
Well, you know what? I agree with that. I agree with that
Yeah.
because, if the technology, the work, the dedication, the writers, the directors, the actors, they pour their heart and soul into these films. The studios pour in tons of money, and so why shouldn't they be able to recuperate their profits legitimately?
Yeah.
What really boils my butt, Rob, is when you go to the theater, tickets are what, $11, $12 each?
It's getting up to about $15 now.
Okay, $15.
Yeah.
So let's say you bring a date, like when Laura and I go, it's $30 just for the tickets, and then the cost of popcorn, pop candies. It's, you're going to see a show. It's going to cost you at least $70.
Yeah, easy. That's why I always go to Dollar M and basically get my pop and chips and sneak it in and eat it there.
Yeah, it's crazy, and then to see what's happening within the DVD industry itself. Look what happened to Blockbuster. Blockbuster went under.
It's gone.
It's gone, but it's available now on certain satellite channels and cable channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you still have Netflix. Netflix is taking a big chunk of change from the theater business and the DVD business, video sales and video rentals. What's next? What do you think, Rob, is going to be the next major entertainment influx?
In the near future, maybe holographic television.
How's that going to work, Rob?
Where basically there's no screen. You sit around a circular base, and then there's like a circular arena,
right.
And in the middle there's to be like a pedestal, and that's where the movie's going to take place.
So it's going to be actually in real 3D, except in a holographic effect.
Yep, I think that's going to be the next part.
Wow.
Like they did in Star Wars.
Yes, I remember that. I
like
remember.
the 3D, like the holographic chess.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like that.
What's the next movie you're going to see, Rob?
Definitely Prometheus.
Uh-huh.
Journey to a Mysterious Island, which is the equal to Journey to the Center of the Earth with Brendan Fraser.
Right.
And maybe Red Sky, which looks really interesting. It's kind of like a Russian movie, sci-fi.
Right.
Where it's based on the Hitler UFO designs.
Yes. And that was very popular last year.
Yep. And apparently they're making a movie based on that, where Russia basically makes these UFOs with tanks on them and invades the rest of the world.
Speaking about UFOs and sci-fi, last year there were not that many major studio releases of UFO movies and alien movies, were there?
The only one that I could think of was Paul. I don't know if you heard about that one, where basically Paul was like an alien, and he was like one of the original people from the 1947 Roswell crash.
Yeah, I actually went and saw that one. I killed myself laughing.
Yeah.
He was,
and like that was the only one, and probably the only time that we ever got to actually see a gray in a movie that looked so real.
Yeah.
As opposed to like looking like a puppet.
Yeah. Once again, thanks to modern technology and the work of the special effects people at these studios.
Yeah. And like it's the best comedy that I've ever seen like in a long time.
That is so true. And we actually watched the other night on television Cowboys and Aliens with Harrison Ford.
I found that very disappointing.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Harrison Ford.
Like
a big
we saw
man.
the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But there was not enough aliens element into it.
Yeah, and the aliens were mean. They were nasty. They were ripping off all the gold. And mind you, taking the gold from Earth, that kind of melded in with the Planet X theory, the planet of Nibiru that came to Earth, genetically engineered humans to mine their gold for them because they needed the gold for their protective shield around a planet. Interesting, Robbo.
Yep. I still think this new Nibiru is like a myth.
Yeah, so do I. So tell me, what are you planning for December the 21st, 2012?
definitely not getting out any insurance on myself, or like with Penn and Teller, what they did when the 2012 thing. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, sure. The best part about that whole thing was when they got Dr. Jason Rand and they did his interview, and, like they nailed his butt to the wall.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah, big time. By the way, Exo Nation, if you're listening to us today, it is Wednesday, January the 4th, which leaves you 351 days left until December the 21st, 2012. Personally, I'm going to go to sleep that night very well, because I know the next day I'm going to have a lot of people I'm going to be calling up and saying, do you want to come on air and talk about your 2012 prediction that didn't come true? Rob, stand by, buddy. You and I have to take our final break for this segment. Rob Catlin's my special guest, Exo Nation, www.supermannorth.com. We'll both be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. My guest this hour is Rob Catlin, www.supermannorth.com. And Rob, looking back at the year 2011, how was it as far as you're concerned, as a person who has his fingers on the pulse of the entertainment industry? As far as television was concerned, I've got to tell you something, Rob. I am so sick and tired of the so-called reality shows on the specialty channels. I wish they'd just take them off air. There's storage wars, there's this wars, there's that wars, now there's hauling wars. And who's interested in watching people shoot hogs or catch hogs in Texas?
Well, that's what sports channels are for, and like real TV shows. Like, but with this reality, it killed regular TV, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody wants reality, and like, to me, it's just sort of like, yeah, reality's good, but yet we want to like venture into like characters and like stories and stuff.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that the Bachelor type shows are still on. Mind you, I was happy to see the X Factor come on to give American Idol some competition. I think Simon Cowell did a fantastic job with X Factor. What's your opinion on that?
I think he did a fantastic job on it. Like anything that is connected with him, he's pretty good, and he deals with the shows the very best he possibly can, and he's like brutally honest.
Yes, he is. How do you think? What do you think the effect is going to be on American Idol now that the X Factor is also on the same network?
Good question. It might sort of like take away from American Idol, and then might eventually replace it. Yeah. And it just basically just too much all in one day.
I you know what? You're right. You are really right. There seems to be a lot of repetitiveness when it comes to the multiplicity of channels that are out there these days. And you know, I when you look at the different packages that are available from your satellite or cable subscriber, God, Rob, when I was a kid growing up in Montreal, you had two channels. You had Channel 6, which was CBC, and Channel 12, CFCF.
Here in Toronto, all I remember is CBC and CTV.
Yep.
Or CFTO back then.
That's right.
And everything was done by antenna.
And everything was done live. Videotape wasn't around back then. They had film at 6. I remember the old thing. The announcer would come on and he'd say, story at 6, film at 6:30, because it took them a half hour to process the film before they could air it.
And it was black and white TV back then.
That's right, yeah. And TV wasn't 24 hours a day like it was. It usually signed on at 6 o'clock in the morning, signed off after the news at midnight.
Yeah, complete with the Native American test pattern.
That's right. That's right. And that...
Yep, and the color bars.
And then the color bars came, and then cable came, and then satellite television came, and then all these blooming channels.
Like I remember when black and white was like in the 60s, my father, he got something that I don't think people do remember. It was a plastic sheet that you put on top of it, which was blue blue at the top, pink in the middle, and green at the bottom.
Yes, I do remember that. My heavens. My heavens, that gave your black and white picture a bit of coloration. And
Yeah,
then
blue sky and green grass.
Yeah, I remember going to my dad worked on Dakari Boulevard, Montreal, and he would have coffee and lunch at a little lunch counter that was inside a pharmacy. Mm-hmm. Now, the guy who ran the lunch counter, his name was Mark, and he was one of the first people in Montreal to have a color TV. Mm-hmm. So, it was a big thing for Dad to bring you to work on Saturday because you would sit in the diner and the lunch counter area of Mark's and watch cartoons in color.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was
remember those
big
days.
thing. That was a big thing. My goodness. Rob, technology, as you and I have been discussing, is progressing in leaps and bounds. Now there's a television that has 3D that doesn't require any glasses to get the 3D effect. Everybody's got iPads, iPods. Everybody's texting, and being in the heart of Canada, Toronto, when you go out, how is texting affecting people? Are more and more people texting one another, and is it causing any inconvenience for the people who really don't want to get involved in the new technology?
Well, I see the students today, they got their faces buried in their BlackBerries, taking up seats what they shouldn't be doing, like the elderly and the disabled, which says clearly priority seating.
Yeah.
They're texting and walking across the street, which is, like, to me, in my personal opinion, very dangerous.
Yes.
And it's made people so stuck into a technology, they forget the outside world.
Yeah, I remember you and I were talking a couple of years ago when we did a special on video games. And we were talking about how, video games were very addictive and that people would just spend their time and waste it in front of a TV screen. Then a year later we talked about the virtual reality on the computers.
Yep.
And here we are in the year 2012, and everybody is texting. I find it so annoying, Rob. We went out New Year's Eve with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and throughout the evening, they were getting text messages, and they say, well, just a minute, I've got to take this. And I came to a point where I said, listen, am I not that important where you cannot put your texting unit away and give me your full attention?
Yeah.
I find it so annoying and so disrespectful.
And plus, here's the other level. At McDonald's, they've got now Wi-Fi there, which is promoting people bringing their technology in there and taking up valuable seats for people that want to sit there.
Right.
And it's just sort of like we're Wi-Fi to death now.
That brings up another thing that you and I talked about was the effects of the wireless technology on the human body. We know for a fact, Rob, that when you go to a gas station to fill up, it says please close. Don't use your cell phones because of the microwave pulse that can actually cause a fire. So,
and then the sort of like the other gray area, which was like the cancer in your head.
Yes, that's right.
By using cell phones.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, it's technological overdrive.
What was the name of the book, Rob, or the TV series where technology eventually took over humanity?
I don't remember that one, but I do remember, like in the Terminator movies,
right,
where people created a self-aware machine, and then it took over and started getting rid of like the human element.
You and I have talked about the year 2012 and the end of the world and so on and so forth. Is it possible, Rob? Now, this is just a thought. Is it possible that those who prophesied about the end of the world, 2012, the galactic alignment, they were actually talking about the taking over of humanity by technology, and technology is the actual alien that everyone has been talking about?
if that's the case, it happened a long time ago.
And is it only because it is so prevalent now that the awareness is coming true?
You could be onto something. I do believe that myself.
Yeah. Because when you look around, I'm just looking here in our studio. I have a phone. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 computers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 television flat screens on the wall, 8 clocks, recording equipment, data banks, this, that, and the other thing. What's this world coming to? You know, like, what would happen, Rob, if all of this electronic wizardry that we depend on so very much in our lives were to shut down?
I tell you one thing, the old school people like ourselves, we'd be able to survive because we survived it. But the newer generation, they wouldn't even have a clue.
That in itself is scary.
Yep.
That in itself is scary.
Because they're so connected to the electronic gadget that they have, is you might even see like a rise in depression or whatever, suicides, because of everybody's like out of the loop now.
Well, look at the new cars that are coming out. I was watching a commercial with Laura this morning as we were having breakfast, and they're promoting all the newest electronics that are being incorporated into the newer cars to make your life easier. Well,
there's the one that actually parks your car, and you don't even have to do it anymore.
And I also
you just push a button.
Yeah. And it backs your car. It does parallel parking for you.
Yeah, GPS, and then there's the other one is that with all these iPads and whatever like that, with these GPS units, and it's like invasion of privacy because it's tracking you every step you take now.
Well, you know what? When we get into the privacy aspect of Big Brother watching, you and I talked about this again many years ago, Rob, where as soon as you swipe your card in an ATM, or whether you go to the gas station and buy gas on your debit card or your credit card, whether you cross into the United States and you give them a form of identification back then because you didn't have to have a passport, it was keyed into their INS system. You're tracked. Big Brother knows where you are at all times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think living in England is bad with all the cameras there.
Hamilton downtown is filled with TV cameras these days, and I don't know why, because nobody goes to downtown Hamilton anymore. Yeah. Hey, Rob, you and I've got to take a commercial break with the news, old friend. Always great talking to you, Rob, and from everyone here to your office in Toronto, Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year. All
right, we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with my good friend Rob Catlin. www.supermannorth.com, and we'll talk to Rob a bit about Superman's history for the many new listeners that we have around the world who may not know that. I'm going to let Rob tell you about this. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. X-Zone Nation, Rob Catlin is my special guest this hour. First of all, Rob, thanks very much for coming on with us so soon after New Year's. I know you're a very busy guy, and once again to you, a very happy New Year, pal. It's always great talking to you, and it's a great privilege working with you.
Same goes from here on in.
Listen, Rob, let me ask you a hypothetical question. Right? We've got about 2 minutes to play with this. I want you to imagine that you're a space visitor.
Yeah.
You land in Toronto on the corner of Bloor and Yonge, which is pretty well downtown.
Uh-huh.
How would you describe what you see?
I would be, I guess, overwhelmed by people like going about their own business and not even taking notice of everything, and like everybody's just sort of like crammed into like an area. I would like to believe that there's somebody like another planet where everybody has their space and everybody's sort of like in tune with everything, but everything's like zoned out here.
Yeah, and you know, it's. I remember an exercise I saw in a high school once where the teacher was talking to the students and what they would do if they were to encounter a star visitor, as the teacher put it. And it was surprising to see how the students or how the youth of today would actually react to someone that they believed was from another planet. And I'll tell you something, Rob, I wouldn't want to be that poor little alien visitor, not even Paul.
No. Well, back in the good old days, like with if an alien landed in the 50s, it would be feared.
Yeah.
But basically, if an alien were to land right now, it'd get like on CNN and everything like that. Like the big interviews, the big reality show, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Is that we become so sensitized to other things now, it's just sort of like, oh, yeah, it's just another day.
Yeah, well, I still wait for the day where these visitors from other planets will land their spacecraft on the lawn of Parliament Hill here in Canada, in front of the White House in the United States, and in Red Square in the Soviet Union. Rob, our time has come to an end, my friend. Thank you very much for being with us. Quickly, give our listeners your website.
www.supermannorth.com.
All right, buddy. Take care of yourself. Happy New Year, Robbo.
Happy New Year.
Exonation Rob Catlin has been my guest. www.supermannorth.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break in the news at 6.5 minutes past as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is just, about 40 miles west of Toronto, where Rob is. After this commercial break, my name's Rob McConnell. Don't go away.